It's another edition of SVG SportsTech On Demand. We're taking you around the world of live sports video production technology with some of the top tech vendors in the industry. We have the pleasure now to be joined by one of them from Dimetis. He is Norman Krebill. He is their VP of Sales. Norman, it's wonderful to see you. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. How about yourself?
Good, good. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. This is a very interesting period in the history of sports television production as we're well deep into the COVID protocols and the like, but there's a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. So the way you see it today here in April of 2021, what's the biggest challenge facing the industry, in your opinion, and how is Dimetis developing their solutions to help tackle some of those challenges?
Well, we're seeing a lot from the sports industry is the remote production capabilities. And as many things, the increase in, say, trying to do internet, high quality video across the networks, it's just creating a lot of congestion. And how do you solve those congestion problems? And we're hearing a lot about the REMI, which is a way to manage and control congestion across a network and bring a real ad hoc network to these remote production places. So we're really working with our BossLink manager on enabling, giving those people some tools that allow them to handle these remote productions, but be able to provide the high bandwidth and, don't clog their network up with all the different services that are required to run a remote production.
Awesome. And that's the BossLink Manager, a pretty interesting product for you in the audience to check out. Norman, as you look ahead, we talked about this kind of hybrid world where we live in now, at least here in North America and the United States, where we've got some fans in attendance. Maybe some people are hoping to get back to some previous ways of working, but then there may be some things that we've learned and tried over the last 12 to 13 months that are flat out just going to stick. As you and the folks at Dimetis are looking ahead at the short-term future, at least, because long-term is probably pretty tough to call these days, the short-term future of remote sports production, any kind of production. What are you anticipating down the line?
Well, we're seeing a lot of the crossover from not just the dedicated fiber lines, but the internet encroaching cloud services, those types of things. So again, it just adds another layer of managing those networks and those controls. And one of the things that we've developed within our BossLink Manager is a tool called, we call partial simulation. Mm-hmm. The idea is you have a remote truck that drives in and has to connect up, make several physical connections. Then all those network connections have to be provisioned. They have to have those paths set up. Well, there's very little time for these trucks to actually, once they connect, before they go to broadcast. And these provisioning of these connections, making sure that you've got your trunk connections, making sure that they're not already scheduled, those types of things. You can't do that work until those things are plugged in, because it'll wreak havoc on your network. They'll all default to fail. They won't show up. They won't grant you access to these because they're not physically there. So our partial simulation tool is actually developed to simulate a production truck connected into the network. So before the truck arrives, the operator, the customers, major telcos, they can actually set up the network from point to point, provision those lines, and ensure that they're scheduled for that time, without including the monitoring, without ruining their network, defaulting on their network. And then when the truck arrives, they simply press one button, and it'll provision 50 connections within a couple minutes. Same thing when production truck has to leave. It has to get out of town, go to the next place. If it physically yanked out all those connections, it's going to blow up their network. There's going to be faults all across that they have to deal with. So again, they can deprovision with a single push of a button, deprovision all those connections, take them down, and then the truck can drive off within a few minutes. And so as we're seeing many of these remote productions, these very expensive trucks having to be across the country, and with little time to set up and little time to tear down, we see this as a great tool for companies to be able to do this and provide this service to their customers.
Having been on plenty of compounds, I'm sure that's a very welcome solution and a very welcome streamlining of things. So, Norman, thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And thank you so much for what Dimetis is doing to help keep the sports video production community excelling at a pretty challenging time. So, again, keep up the great work. And thanks so much for the time today.
All right. Thank you.
All right, he is Norman Krebill. He is the VP of Sales for Dimetis. You can learn out more about that company now over at sportsvideo.org, and you can watch more of the SVG Sports Tech On Demand series.